Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to No Roll Soul. Thank you so much for being here on this week's episode of the podcast. We are back here with Nevaeh. Hi, Nevaeh.
Hi.
7 weeks ago, we told you guys about the fact that Nevaeh left home, really, as an adult for the first time. This was her first solo trip. And during that trip, she was approached by some suspected human traffickers. That podcast episode ended up doing really, really well. We ended up getting over 650,000 views. And subsequently, we got a number of questions, concerns, and criticisms. And we wanted to give you guys an update on where things stand today and address some of those very questions that I'm referring to. So do you want to give just a real brief summary, reminder of what it is that happened to you down in Dallas, Texas?
Yeah. So I was on my first solo trip. I was going to a conference and I showed up in the Dallas airport.
This was DFW, because
Yeah.
that was one of the questions that we kept receiving.
I was very overwhelmed because I had just shown up in a place I had never been by myself before. I'd never been alone, and I was trying to figure out my way through the airport. And I was filming a video, and I was sitting there. I noticed a guy in baggage claim, and he didn't have any luggage or anything with him. And I made note of him because he was kind of just pacing baggage claim and watching me. And then he came up to me, and he was probably 45 years old, too old to try to be picking up an 18-year-old girl. And he started asking me for my phone number and telling me, like, you're so beautiful. Why are you here? Who are you with? Trying to get as much information as he could. And I kind of just brushed that off as a creepy guy. And I eventually got him to walk away. And I noticed security was looking at him a little bit, and they were looking at me. And then after about 10 minutes of him just disappearing, I thought he was gone. He came back, and this time he was a little more pushy, was trying to hand me his phone, wanted all my contact information. And I got a little creeped out, so he wasn't leaving. I made eyes at security. I walked out. I met my friend who was picking me up to bring us to our hotel, and we left. So I thought that was the end of it. And then later that night, there was a party going on at the conference when I got approached again by a guy who looked about the same age, same ethnicity. I didn't know if it was the same guy or not, but he was asking the same kind of questions. And he waited till I was alone and away from all my friends to really get in my space this time, and was not letting me walk away. He was just coming closer and closer. And he was asking me for my contact information, asking me why I was at the event, asking me what hotel I was staying in. And so that was a little alarming, but I brushed it off in the moment. I didn't actually realize the full depth of the situation until after I got home. So that was just what happened. That was my point of view of what happened initially.
So on the surface, it sounds relatively innocuous. Doesn't sound,
Creepy guys.
sounds, like a creepy guy who approached an 18-year-old girl who unfortunately was out by herself for the first time. That was a part of the response that we received. Many people were asking why it is that we didn't report this to any kind of law enforcement agency. So we're here today not to rehash what it is that we've reviewed and gone over previously, but again, to provide you guys with an update as to what's going on and address some of the criticisms, because unfortunately, what really pissed me off as a father was the fact that my daughter got a lot of negative attention for the fact that she happened to document at least a portion of this interaction. There were a lot of people who were claiming that you were putting this out there just for attention and clicks and your own self-benefit and gain, which wasn't at all the case. The last time we were on here discussing what happened, we just tried to reiterate the fact that we wanted to bring this up so that there was a level of awareness out there in the world. Human trafficking is a thing. It occurs on a daily basis. Far too often, there are a number of horrific situations that transpire as a result of scenarios like the one that you're describing. So with that, you have a laundry list here of notes that you've taken down as far as questions go, things we want to review with the investigation and where things stand currently. You want to hop into that there?
Yeah, so a lot of the criticism was that you didn't call 911. Like, once you realized that you had been followed to your hotel, like, you didn't even tell me. I didn't even know until you got home.
Yeah.
And I was like, that sounds like a human trafficker. Like, they followed you from the airport to the hotel. How'd they get there? How'd they follow you? Were you air tagged? Did they follow your car? Like, we didn't know. So I said the same thing that a lot of people said. Why didn't you call 911? Why didn't you contact hotel security? Why didn't you contact airport security? And you're like, I don't know. I just thought it, like, I didn't really think anything of it.
It was hard in the moment. In the moment, I'm not like, oh, I've been followed. I thought it was, okay. At the party, I was a little alarmed because it was too coincidental. It was probably 2 hours later.
Did it cross your mind at any point?
it crossed my mind that maybe I thought it was the same guy.
Right.
And I
Yeah,
was
well,
like,
and it still may have been, right? He just wasn't wearing glasses.
yeah, I'm still not sure. Same ethnicity, same age. I thought maybe I'd been followed. Then I remember going to my friends being like, look out for this guy in a black hoodie. Looks like this. I think he might have followed me. But I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to make a big deal out of it because I wasn't totally sure in the moment. And I was kind of trying to not freak myself out.
Let me ask you in general, though. Do you
Yeah.
have any reluctance whatsoever in ever dialing 911 and summoning help or assistance?
Yeah. Like, do you feel like something would have to be, because a lot of people,
Yeah, I was going to say
Pause.
that is a thing,
Yeah.
and I never want you to err on that side of things. You should never have nobody out there should ever have a reluctance in
Yeah.
reporting a even suspected crime, a bizarre circumstance or situation.
I was very caught off guard the first time. And because this was 15 minutes after landing that the first reactions initially happened. So I was very overwhelmed, and I think I froze then. I was being way too polite. I didn't do anything. Security was sitting right there, and the lady was making eyes at me, and I didn't say anything.
Mhm.
she failed to.
Well, she intervened, but it took a
watched.
while.
She didn't intervene,
didn't
really. No,
intervene.
she just watched, and then
Okay, that was one of the
Yeah.
things that people brought up as well.
Mhm.
Why is it you didn't go to security, and why is it that security maybe wasn't looked at as being potentially involved? Because again, crazy as it sounds, that is a thing.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
they were. So there was an investigation that
It was more than an investigation. It was like they arrested 7 people or something, like out of Dallas.
Security personnel.
yeah.
Well,
Airport
I think
personnel.
3 or 4 of them were from the airport.
Okay, can we let's jump ahead real
Okay.
quick here. We'll revisit a lot of these questions and criticisms. Can we just get a specific update on the subsequent contact that was established with us? Because they actually were very proactive.
Yes.
I'll let you break it down.
American
But
Airlines.
basically what happened was we had some security personnel from the Dallas-Fort Worth airport,
The
right?
head of security from American Airlines contacted us because he saw the podcast.
Right.
And so he was like, wait a minute, she flew American Airlines into Dallas? Like, that's where I work. So he decided that he needed to pull all of the footage.
Mhm.
So yeah, a lot of the questions were, why was nothing done? Why is there not an investigation? So now this guy's just roaming around and nobody knows who he is, which we were not supposed to talk about the ongoing case.
Right.
So that's why we haven't been talking about the ongoing case.
Yeah,
but-
it was an open investigation.
Right.
And we didn't want to put anything out there as far as giving you guys an updates that would
Mhm.
hinder or interfere with what it is that was going on behind the scenes.
Right. And so he was talking with you and I a lot about he kind of, at first he had to find her. So he found her exiting the airplane and he's like, is this her? And then once he identified her, he was able to track all of her steps through airport video,
Right.
which we saw a little bit of it. It was
Yeah.
very clear. And then she was able to identify the suspect. And it turns out that he was dropping somebody off. So like a lot of people thought she was followed because of her presence on YouTube. It
Was
was
not
like
the
a
case.
stalker or somebody from YouTube. Like,
Nobody had any prior information. Nobody had a heads up of the fact that you were going to be there on that certain date and time, which
No.
would be we're always recording things ahead of time before you guys view it.
Yeah.
And so nobody had any prior
Yeah,
knowledge
it
of
was
the
very
fact
random.
you were going to be there.
Yeah.
Totally random. Correct.
yeah. So he was dropping someone off. And then as he's coming back, he sees her, basically. So then you saw him pacing and watching you for a long
Mhm.
time. And then the footage does show that
Confirm that.
he watched her for a while before he came up to her the first time. And so very unfortunately, she was left at the airport for a long time waiting for her friend. If she was just able to leave, which of course, if she had been traveling with us or something, we would have just left. None of this would have happened, but she was left sitting there. So it did make her a target.
Mhm.
'Cause-
Opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. There was opportunity and he saw that and he watched for a while, I think probably to see if you were alone.
I sat there. People were saying, well, why don't you just say I'm here with my dad or my boyfriend or
Yeah.
something? I sat there alone for probably 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really claim that.
Right. So it was very clear you were alone.
Yeah.
So then he approaches her and, they don't have audio on that footage,
Mhm.
but he's talking to her. She's uncomfortable, whatever. And then he leaves and he goes out the doors. So that's when she thought he was gone the first time. So when he exited the doors, they had cameras on the outside and they were able to see that he went to a car that was waiting, which was my concern. Because when you told me that someone approached you at the airport, I said,
Yeah.
they're going to follow you. I bet there's more guys in a car. And sure as shizniz, there was more guys in a car. I almost said a bad word. And I fixed it. You're welcome, youngins. So he goes out to a car, and the footage, they try to like see who's in the car. They said 3, possibly 4 more men were in the car. So he converses with them. Then he goes back into the terminal. And that's when I think the car, I'm trying to remember exactly how this works, but I think the car like moved back further, which makes sense to me. If you're going to follow someone, you're going to go and you're going to move back, because obviously a car is going to pull up to the doors.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of makes sense. But unfortunately, that's where they lose sight of that car.
So this guy was not traveling.
He wasn't traveling, no.
Really
He was
had no
dropping
business
someone
being
off.
in airport baggage claim. He dropped somebody off.
Yeah, and normally
Apparently.
a normal person just leaves.
Sure.
They don't sit there looking for a
Sure. So he's on foot. He's got additional people. There are additional occupants in this vehicle.
willing to also wait.
Also willing to wait. And upon leaving, maybe are staged or standing by in a separate area. We don't really know. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I guess they moved back around, which makes sense. Because my thought was, if there's another people in a car, they're going to move back around. And then that way, when your friend pulls up, they can easily follow your car, which is what I told her at the airport.
So Nevaeh documents this interaction that she has with this gentleman that is
Wait, that's
on.
not where it stopped.
I'm not saying that's where it stopped.
Oh.
I'm just saying, for those who are curious about the actual interaction, if you failed to see Nevaeh's video, you can actually go over to her channel, Nevaeh Souza. Which video is it of yours?
It's obvious.
I'll put it in here. If you're curious about the actual interaction and how the verbal exchange went.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, not to jump.
Oh, yeah, I
and
thought.
intervene there.
Yeah, you were moving.
No.
Yeah, you've got like some footage, and again, you were kind of panicking, so you're just filming his feet, but you still are able to film the second interaction.
Because I was filming, he saw that because he had been watching me. So he waited till I turned my camera off.
And the interesting question was whether or not you were live streaming.
Yeah.
Which is a very bizarre question to
Which
ask.
I didn't even think about that in the moment. That's the first thing he said, because I was filming and he saw it. And as soon as I put my camera down, because I was done with the shot, he went, "Are you a streamer?"
Right.
I was like, "Oh, no."
Not what are you doing, as
Yeah.
most normal people would.
Yeah. He asked if
the
I was a
question.
streamer, which now looking back on it, I realized why he asked that.
He wanted to know if he was on camera.
Yep. He wanted to know if I was live streaming.
You guys already know that we are massive Daily Wire Plus fans and longtime members of their platform, and recently we had Matt Walsh on the show. He is the star of the recently in theaters film, Am I Racist?
As a family, we've seen Am I Racist twice now, and each time we watch it, it gets even more hilarious. We also learn something new along the way. The film is incredibly entertaining, but it also reveals the absurdity of people out there making millions of dollars through convincing people and companies that they're inherently racist.
Online, you've probably seen people raving about the film. It's actually the #1 documentary of the decade. And the cool thing is, if you happen to miss it in theaters, or maybe you just want to see it again, you can now watch it from the comfort of your very own home on the Daily Wire Plus.
Yeah, we actually signed up for the Daily Wire platform to watch Matt's groundbreaking documentary, What is a Woman? And that's when we realized exactly how many incredible movies, podcasts, shows, even children's programming the Daily Wire Plus platform offers.
And the best part is, instead of supporting woke entertainment streaming platforms that are just offering up agenda-driven garbage, you can actually learn something new and be genuinely entertained by high-quality programming that not only gives Hollywood a run for its money, but actually supports your family's beliefs and morals.
Yeah, it is so worth signing up for, and we can't wait to hear what you guys think about Am I Racist? Remember, it is streaming right now, so you can literally enjoy it tonight at home with your family when you go to getdwplus.com/NWOS or click down in the description below and use code AIR. That's AIR to save 35% off your annual membership. Okay, sorry, let's jump back on track here.
So then after he goes and talks to the other 3 or 4 males in the car, they move their car around. He goes back in, watches her some more, and then he approaches her the second time and he's more aggressive because now he's got people waiting or whatever. And then when she left, one of them approached her again at the hotel. We just don't know how they got there. So American Airlines did an amazing job. They pulled every single camera angle, video, photos, everything they could find. We're so appreciative that they took this so seriously.
100%.
Unfortunately, because their airport security, once they left the airport, that's where their jurisdiction ends and they're not able to pull her.
Yeah, the point of contact that you guys specifically were working with, he did a great job. Though.
Mm-hmm.
He expressed that he had the time to devote to this. He was taking it very seriously, and he did an awesome job of compiling everything, making it make sense, and essentially built a case file specifically for this incident, which he then passed along to law enforcement.
Yeah, so because he wanted to be able to figure out how they got from the airport to the hotel. Did they air tag her? Did they follow her in the little car? What was going on? Because, they were there 2 hours later. At least one of them was. But now knowing that there were other males in the car, it could have been any of them that approached you at the hotel.
And it's a common tactic for them to just basically
swap
scoop
it up.
scoop up victims, not necessarily girls, and drag them into a car, drive off, never to be seen or heard from again.
Yeah. So this went to Homeland Security. And Homeland Security took it seriously, too. They said the behavior was very suspicious. This is not like a normal, like, oh, what a cute girl. I'm going to go, like, going to the car and coming back and stalking her in the baggage claim area. All of that is just abnormal.
But we said it's so easy to be dismissive. And it turns out, again, in this comment section from our podcast and also your video where you capture this interaction, people were very, very dismissive. We will jump back into that. I'm just a little foreshadowing what we're going to be discussing here.
Yeah. So Homeland Security takes it. And then their goal was to try to figure out how they followed her to the hotel. So they wanted us to, like, they wanted you to check through your pockets, your purse, everything.
Yeah.
They thought they air tagged her. Which I had never even heard of air tagging until we did this podcast. And then people started saying how they had found air tags in their pockets and in their purses. There was a lady that was air tagged at Target while shopping. The guy behind her in line that wrote on her. Like, I have never heard of this. So another thing to be aware of. Never stand too close to somebody.
You want to explain what an air tag is, since you're the younger, more technologically hip person here at the table?
An air tag is a little tiny device that can be connected to your iPhone. And if you put it on something, you can track where that thing is.
Yeah, it's a tracking device.
I mean, you could put it on a TV remote and then you never lose your remote because you look at your iPhone, it tells you where it is. But you could also theoretically put it on a person.
A car,
and
a vehicle,
that's common, putting them on cars.
Drop it in a backpack.
People will stick them underneath cars because then you can just look at your iPhone and track where that car is, where that person is, which it's really scary because they are really tiny little devices.
They're very small.
Of course, it's going to be used for nefarious activities.
Of course. So, and I'd never heard of it before this. So, obviously, we're sheltered here. So, they thought maybe they had air tagged her, but then they wanted to see if the car followed. Very unfortunately, Homeland Security was not able to find Nevaeh at the airport because the party was so big.
At the hotel.
At the hotel. So once she got to the hotel, they get her, she's in the lobby and everything. But at that party where she was approached, they couldn't find her.
Yeah.
And she was there the whole time. It's just super crowded and it's
There's
unfortunate.
Like 2,000 people there.
And I don't know how long they spent looking.
Right.
And how many cameras there were. And if you were in a blind spot, like you were out on the balcony. Were there even cameras in the balcony?
Yeah. He approached me out
Probably
on
not.
the balcony. So I don't know if they would have cameras up there.
Yeah, it's just a hotel. It's a convention center.
So inconclusive as far as the hotel goes, not a lot of investigative leads being generated.
Yeah, so that's kind of the unfortunate thing. So they were able to identify this suspect.
Did they ever explain that to you, how it is? Is it just off of the vehicle, I'm assuming?
No, because they weren't able to get the license plate on
It
the
was
vehicle.
the guy was in the airport dropping off a family member, so they were able to find his
backtracked.
relative.
Got it.
And
Okay.
then who dropped you off at the airport, and then they were able to figure it out. So once they identified him, which we were not told what country of origin he was from. You thought he sounded Middle Eastern. I thought he sounded like he was possibly from India, but they were saying, no, he's actually of Hispanic origin, which could mean so many countries. They're like, is he Venezuelan? Like, who knows?
Doesn't
we
matter.
just have no idea. So, and apparently we're not at liberty to know.
Sure.
They did say, what was it they said that led you to believe Venezuelan?
I don't remember. A lot of it is just, I was just suspecting because they are having some issues there.
I think the more important part, because it's not entirely relevant where it is that he's from. However, this case was eventually forwarded to ICE,
which tells
draw
us.
your own conclusions.
Yeah. So once they identified him, ICE took over the case.
Right.
And then the feds did contact him and interview him. And the problem is that he hadn't committed the crime yet. Mm-hmm. So going up and approaching and even following someone to a hotel is not a crime. So he didn't actually grab you or do anything.
It's not necessarily a crime. You could articulate some kind of a stalking charge if they were able to prove that this same gentleman
Intent
or some of
is the
his
problem.
associates were complicit in actually following you from the airport to the hotel, recontacting you there. We don't have that because of the lack of evidentiary evidence that you could come forward with to actually prove that being the case.
Right.
So case somewhat suspended at
well,
that point from a criminal aspect.
They did run him through like the trafficking database,
Mhm.
which the U.S. has for people coming in and out of the country. Unfortunately, that you're only in the trafficking database if you've been caught trafficking in the United States.
Yeah.
So it's not that helpful. And the other problem is they were unable to identify, or at least they didn't try to identify the other men in the vehicle.
Yeah.
So whether or not, like, we don't know who those guys were, because
Right.
someone who's a scout isn't going to be in the database
Mhm.
versus there could be someone really bad in the car, but they were never identified. They were never interviewed. So American Airlines did an awesome job. They went as far as they possibly could with it. Homeland Security took it as far as they could. And then ICE basically suspended it and said, we don't have a crime yet. So they put him on a watch list. If he pops up again, if another girl complains about his behavior, then maybe it goes further. But
Yeah, they'll have something to fall back on.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
But-
incredibly concerning. I'm very appreciative. I know you expressed your
Very,
gratitude.
yeah.
Very appreciative for all the work that American Airlines Security put in, Homeland Security, ICE, all the follow up. So, I mean, it's their job. I was in law enforcement. I get it, but the amount of follow up that was done for something that came about that was really self initiated
Mhm.
by American Airlines
Yeah.
personnel. It's
it was the airport that took it seriously.
yeah, so appreciated. I'm glad that they followed through in conducting all this follow up. It's so important.
Right.
Mhm.
So the podcast was really supportive. People were, especially women, were like, I sent this to my daughter. I sent this to my granddaughter. We had a lot of young women writing and saying, thank you so much for bringing this up, because if this happens to me when I'm traveling back and forth to college, I'm not going to be polite.
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
like, I'm aware of how quickly that happens and what could be going on behind the
Yeah.
scenes.
Because that was something that was really hard to do because you don't know exactly what's happening yet. And so it was very easy I did not do that great of a job at the airport being assertive
Mhm.
and being like, no, get away from me.
Yeah,
I-
we talked about that
Yeah,
last go around on the podcast.
I was too polite at the airport. I did better at the hotel. I was very vocal.
Yeah, and a lot of the I'd say more encouraging comments that we got were especially from females saying,
Mhm.
yeah, no, you have zero obligation, kind of like I mentioned last time, like be rude.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, especially when it comes to your personal safety.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going to say a small portion, but it wasn't really a small portion. A large amount of the comments, especially on your video, were
Mm-hmm.
from men, were very critical.
Yeah.
Like
They
a
were
lot
very angry.
yeah, there were a lot of people calling her a liar.
Hmm.
I mean, you have like some of the comments, because I told you, I was like,
Yeah.
screenshot those. So what are like some of the crazy comments? And this is kind of why women don't want to bring stuff up, or they don't want to call 911, because they're afraid that the police officers are going to go, come on.
Yeah.
And they don't want to go tell security because they're afraid that they're going to be like, who do you think you are? Nobody's stalking you. Nobody's following. So as a female, you hesitate to say anything to anyone that's not a girlfriend.
And to go back to that, mentality of being very dismissive, unfortunately in today's day and age, it is very glamorous to depict yourself as being a victim, which is
Yeah.
why I think you maybe draw some of those comments as well. But regardless, it's inappropriate in this case, and that's not the kind of
Yeah.
family we are. It's not the kind of people we are.
Well, there were a lot of people that were like, why would nothing actually happened to you. So why are you making a YouTube video about
Right.
it? You're just trying to profit off of this or get attention and sympathy. And even saying like, that's really disrespectful to the people that actually get trafficked.
Mhm.
And that's not what it was for. I wasn't being like, oh my gosh, listen to my story.
Yeah,
Like,
woe is
Right.
me.
it's not a survival story or anything like
Right.
that. It's just this happened and I was not expecting it. It happened very easily and quickly. And I did some things wrong.
Yeah.
And this is what you should look for, because young girls, college requires traveling and young girls are going to be off on their own. And that's something you should be aware of, even if you're just at a party or something. Like, you should be aware of what it looks like when someone has bad intentions,
Mhm.
or just know that it's okay that if you feel uncomfortable
Right.
to be rude.
Speak
It doesn't matter where you are, what the situation is. If you feel uncomfortable, speak your mind. So
Yeah.
that's what that video was for.
Because it's hard in the moment. Like, you
Yeah.
think, like, I always thought you were way more sassy and tough than you were when you were under pressure.
I was very uncomfortable in the
Yeah.
situation before he came up. I just showed up in another state by myself.
Yeah, but especially for females, you're more vulnerable.
Yeah.
You are.
I'm sorry, but we
You
all
are.
need to be as vigilant as possible. I think even for males, it's important to be very observant and watch, if you see something like this situation that we're discussing here, you should feel as a male very confident to intervene and look out for a young lady. You should.
The one person that intervened in these interactions was a woman at the conference who was smaller than I was. She looked like she was 5 feet tall and 100 pounds.
Yeah.
She got all in the guy's face. She's like, "Excuse me, back up."
So frustrating. What are some of the comments that you got there?
Let's see, some of the comments we've got.
Americans have grown tired and frustrated by the stalling economy, inflation, endless wars, and the relentless assault on our values. Thankfully, there's companies like Patriot Mobile that still believe in America and our Constitution.
And we're proud to partner with Patriot Mobile because they're on the front lines fighting for the First and Second Amendments, the sanctity of life, and our military and first responder heroes.
Yeah, take a stand and put America first by switching to Patriot Mobile today. You will get the same nationwide coverage as big providers because Patriot Mobile operates across all 3 major networks. Plus, they back their service with a coverage guarantee.
Their 100% US-based customer service team will help find the best plan for your needs. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade.
Just go to patriotmobile.com/NWOS or call 972-PATRIOT. Right now, get a free month when you use our offer code NWOS.
Don't get fooled by other providers pretending to share your values or have your same coverage. They don't and they can't. Join us. Switch to America's only Christian conservative mobile provider, Patriot Mobile. Go to patriotmobile.com/NWOS or call 972-PATRIOT for your free month of service today.
This is the point of view of a chick who has been coddled and sheltered her whole life, first time away from home, and 2 guys try to hit on her. And just because they're the same ethnicity, she automatically assumes sex trafficking. She is our future. Let that sink in. A bimbo girl looking for validation. Traffickers would have to be pretty desperate to traffic you. They were probably after your shoelaces.
You were wearing Birkenstocks.
I was. I got criticism for that too. Apparently you never show your toenails because, you know.
We'll jump into that.
Get over yourself. There was no trafficker. There was just a creepy... Oh, there wasn't a creepy guy. There was just a poor man with no social skills.
A poor man. Poor him.
He's the victim.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're a decent looking woman. You're going to have to learn how to deal with this. There's plenty of easy ways to stay safe without coming on here and making a video every time a guy tries to talk to you. I wouldn't be surprised if the guy was autistic and had Asperger's syndrome, and now he'll never feel comfortable going up to a woman again.
You have shattered that man.
How dare you?
He's a poor disabled man.
You have shattered that man with Asperger's, and now he will never approach another woman again.
That was a wild assumption.
Jeez. Man, talk about pulling stuff from nowhere.
I knew this was going to happen, which is why I put out on the last podcast episode. Apparently, it did make a difference. It's with everybody.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be exceptions. And I think that's what we're dealing with here. But I already knew that people were going to be very, very dismissive about this, which is fine.
Very dismissive.
Yeah.
Like, oh, please, what a drama queen. Nobody was stalking you. That man was creepy because you didn't find him attractive.
Because he followed you to your hotel.
No. They basically just go on talking about how human traffickers are always young, attractive guys and not old guys, which is not true if it's a small operation.
Not true.
Oftentimes they're women.
I was going to say, we've looked into this a lot since this occurred and learned a lot. And yeah, that's completely false.
There were a lot of people saying it was just a guy, and I only found him creepy because I didn't think he was attractive.
Right.
That is not the case.
Well, that's why I asked you in the last episode as well. I was like, how is a guy supposed to come up and approach you? But it regardless, it doesn't matter. You might be a totally normal guy. If a woman feels creeped out, you should back off and leave her alone.
His
Simple as that.
behavior is what was creepy.
Yes.
Well, yeah. And so all of these comments, like, it's like, okay, well, if you knew that he paced and followed and watched for 45 minutes before approaching, well, his people were in the car, goes out to the car, talks to them, they agree to wait. Then they relocate their car in preparation to follow, probably. I mean, that's the only way they could have found her at her hotel, is if that car followed. And then he goes back in, reapproaches, more aggressive, and then shows up at a hotel. That is not normal behavior. That is not you thinking he's creepy because you didn't find him attractive. No. You found him creepy because he showed up 2 hours later at a hotel.
Also,
20 minutes from the airport.
A 45-year-old guy, he doesn't know how old I am. I could have been 15 years old. Shouldn't he be trying to hit on me?
Yeah, regardless.
That's just creepy by itself. I don't care what you say. That's creepy. That's out of line.
And we had some older people take offense to that too. Like, oh, so now 40-year-olds are creepy. It's like, oh, stop. Like, this is not about you. Just stop. So, yeah.
That's just too old for me.
But I think I found this really alarming because it did come from the males. And I feel like men should be protectors and they... You know, and so the Me Too movement did so much damage to the men versus, and now it is men versus women. And because it went so far that then guys became so defensive of all women, but not all women are like that.
Right.
And so, like, you guys are still supposed to be protectors, and you're still, there are still women that appreciate positive masculinity. We're looking for those strong men to be our protectors.
It's
and
toxic now, though.
Yeah.
It's not, though. And that's not what they're talking about when they say toxic
That's not what they
masculinity.
mean.
I'm
Yeah.
joking.
Yeah, like
It's just there are behaviors that are toxic. They're
Like
not calling
this.
masculinity
Yeah.
toxic.
this
for
is
sure.
toxic masculinity.
Well, they
It's also the anonymity of the internet.
They're taking things very personally, I feel like. I got a lot of comments like this one that said, "Women like you are the reason I'm still single because I'm afraid of being judged as a creep." Which I
don't follow someone. Maybe.
I gotta, tough for guys out there trying to ask a pretty girl out. A lot of people saying that I was the problem. I shattered this poor man. Let's see.
I don't want to put this in like the victim shaming category. It's just so unreasonable.
Yeah.
Like, why not hear somebody out?
Crazy.
Take it for what it is. Thank God that everything worked out favorably. But again, this is something. It's just at the very. There just should be some baseline concern when you're talking about an 18-year-old young woman. I feel like, and the fact that you caught so much criticism for a number of like over the top ridiculous things. Like, again, we're about to go over is just so infuriating.
I think just for anyone, if someone's saying that something like that happened, you shouldn't just automatically assume you're a liar. Like, sometimes things happen.
Sure, use your better judgment.
Yeah.
I'm not saying just flat out believe everyone and what they say, because that's also
but also don't just flat out think everyone's lying.
Yeah. Hear somebody out.
This is something that happens. I mean, if you just go through the comments on the podcast, there are so many women that are like, I was approached here, I was approached there. This happened so fast. This is what happened to me. I was drugged into a car. I was drugged into an alley. I was attacked at a club. I was attacked in cult. Like, there's so many stories. There's a woman that had been trafficked and held for 3 years that commented on her stuff before she was freed. It does happen. And the point of it was to raise awareness and to show other girls, you don't have to be polite. Please contact security. Please contact 911. Like, these were the mistakes that were made because we didn't recognize it in the time.
Yep.
I wasn't expecting it or think that would ever happen. So I was very dismissive myself in the moment. And there were a lot of things that I should have done that I did not do.
Life's learning lessons.
Well, people freeze in all kinds of emergency situations.
They do, for sure.
Because you don't expect it. When you live your whole life pretty peacefully, really. I mean, most of us that live, especially in America, we've lived a very charmed, peaceful lives.
Yeah.
And then when something happens, when you witness a crime or something, and you say, what does the suspect look like?
Blank
I
out.
don't know.
It's panic.
Or they're totally off.
And you can think you're really tough until something happens and you freeze and you don't even know that about yourself.
Yeah.
So anything like this where you listen to someone else's story, if there's another 18-year-old girl that gets approached by somebody, she doesn't know how long he's been following her. It's like, be aware that maybe he was following you.
I think most people have to learn to be assertive. It's not something that comes natural to a lot of people out there. There's some that, are more inclined to just be that way in their personality type. But I think especially for you, given the way that you've grown up, it's an incredible learning opportunity for you moving forward to do better the next time. Whenever, hopefully this never happens again.
Yeah.
But if it does, which it probably will, because you're an attractive young lady. Not to say that they will be traffickers, but they'll you're going to get attention from guys, like I told you last time.
Yeah, unwanted attention at a bar or whatever.
It's just important to express that you are, when you're feeling uncomfortable, and in a way that is doesn't have to be over the top, but you need to make it known, I would say, and not be reluctant in expressing how it is that you're feeling internally.
Just don't be overly
and
polite.
reaching out to help if you feel like you need it.
Yeah, and being aware of other women around you. Girls and men need to watch out for women. So we were just watching something on, it was a social experiment. It wasn't like, what would you do? It was, but I mean, I guess it was like that, but it wasn't a television show, but where it was taking place in another country. And basically there's a little boy, he looks to be about 7, and he's walking with his backpack, very clearly alone, walking back from school. 2 men run up and they grab him and they cover his mouth and they run into an alley. And all these people are like, and they said they did it all day. I mean, and it's very easy to pull up on the internet, but you can watch, and some people film, some people are like, one guy went running after him and the wife pulled him back and was yelling at him, like, what are you doing? Don't go chasing.
Don't involve yourself.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is like, don't involve yourself. What if you're wrong? A lot of people
Then be
don't
wrong.
step in because they're afraid of being wrong.
Yeah.
You know, like if you see a child walking around a mall, they won't approach that child. Where's your mommy or stuff? Because they're like, oh, it's none of my business.
Everybody wants to rationalize and nobody wants to think worst case scenario.
Right.
Everyone, no, this is fine. Everything's okay. Everything's okay. You see it in these crazy incidents that happen, you know, like I don't want to use the words. I'm trying to dance around the terms here, but like all of these incidents that we have in schools, like people will become so, your brain will play tricks on you as a defense mechanism to reassure yourself in that everything is okay when it's not.
Yeah.
Denial.
Yeah, in the moment, for sure, 100%. It's like when I was a cop. Remember I told you? And I hate those videos that you're talking about. Every time I see somebody pulling out a phone and someone's like getting their butt kicked, I'm like, what are you doing?
Why are you filming?
What are you doing? These freaking things. I hate them sometimes.
They've killed humanity.
Completely.
Like, I feel like people used to be way more prone to step in and to intervene.
Yeah, I
and
agree.
now it's almost like we're so desensitized by the
Yes.
internet and the violence on television
Yeah.
and video games. I hate sounding like a boomer right now and saying this stuff, but we are desensitized, all of us, and especially young people because they grew up with it.
Yep.
And so when they see stuff playing out in real life, they either freeze or they do nothing.
Remember I told you about one of my first calls, like my day one of being a police officer, and I was on, I think it was a collision scene, but like people were barking at each other, becoming very verbally aggressive toward one another, and I was looking around like, man, somebody should call the cops. And I was like, it just doesn't come natural
that's
to a lot of
me.
people.
You're like, I need an adult. I need an adult.
Exactly. And I don't think I'm necessarily the type of person. I've always been one to kind of jump in and intervene when necessary, but it's still just, it's your brain messes with you sometimes in emergency situations. When there's a high level of stress involved, it can override your better judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is really crazy, but I think we just all need to be more aware. And if it's that whole, like, if you see something, say something, it's such a cliche thing to say. And then reality, when they do social experiments, people don't.
Yeah.
They really don't. And like in that situation, it went on and on and on. And the amount of people that looked alarmed, like something's wrong. And then they just continued on with their day. Yeah. It's like a 7-year-old just got taken and nobody did anything. One girl saw it and she looked like she was about 5 feet tall and 95 pounds. And she saw it and she just dropped her purse and took off running down that alley. Like if those were bad guys, she was going to end up getting killed, but she didn't care. Yeah. She was the only person all day to do anything.
Yeah. Scary.
Yeah. One person, some small little female. So I think like we just need to be aware. If you see something in an airport, if you see a girl looking uncomfortable or you see a young boy, because as many people pointed out, it's not just girls.
No.
I mean, Kaimani would be, like if he was traveling alone, he could be preyed upon as well.
For sure.
And so if you see somebody looking uncomfortable or you see a child that looks like, like there's kids that are kidnapped in Walmart because they go in with their parents and another adult walks them out and people are like, well, yeah, that wasn't who they came in with.
But it's probably fine.
But
they must know them.
But I don't want to be rude or wrong.
Right.
So I'll let them walk right out the door.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just a mentality thing, and it is difficult. I know I personally struggle with it. Again, it's really easy for me to say, but if it were happening in real life, usually with a small child, I will get inappropriate. And I mean, there's even been times where I've seen kids walking around and I'm like, that kid's mommy's gone. And they'll be like, well, let's leave it alone. And I'm like, where's your mommy? Like, with children, I will do something. But with adults, like I could see myself explaining it away or not wanting to be wrong.
To be fair, I got lost once as a kid. And I didn't want to go up to anyone. Some lady came up and she's like, are you lost? I was like, yes, thank you. I need help.
So funny. All right, let's talk about some of these other unfair criticisms, because you wore that denim jacket in here today specifically.
This is the outfit in question.
This is the outfit in question. One of the very prevalent remarks, criticism that you kept getting.
Blame. It was, this happened to you. I believe this happened to you, but this happened to you because you were dressed like a harlot.
Yeah.
Like a lady of the night.
Yeah, it was a big majority of the comments, like every other comment.
Alarming amount. And this was not on our podcast. Our podcast, you guys are the best. The podcast comments were so encouraging, and thanks for sharing this. I shared this with my granddaughter. She was like, wow, this was so helpful. Thank you, Grandma, for sharing this. She posted a video. She's got a much younger crowd. Yeah. And man, they're mean. Some of them are mean.
We still got it a little bit as well, but I nuked them.
Nuked them.
Yeah.
You got nuked if you were mean.
There were a lot of people in these comments that are blaming you guys for letting me
I was going to say.
wear what I wore.
Right. Let me address that one as her father. Nevaeh is 18 years old, and I am proud to sit here and say that I think you dress incredibly modestly and conservatively without having to be told to do so.
Yeah.
To your own credit, you've got a oversized denim coat on, which is what you were wearing
It
the
was
day
all
of.
closed up too.
I, as her father, am giving the stamp of approval. I have absolutely zero problem with this outfit
With the denim coat.
or anything that Nevaeh wears. All that being said, she is a young person.
Yeah.
She is going to dress trendy. I have yet to see you wear a single item of clothing that I have a problem with. So we're good to go in that department. So you know those random phishing calls and emails that we all get? Not only are they very annoying, but they're also a sign that your personal information is probably being sold online, which puts you at a much higher risk for scammers and even worse, identity theft.
Yeah, when we first signed up for Delete Me, they found hundreds of listings with our private data just 1 year ago. On our first report, they found Jeremy and I's private information in over 300 places. But then on last month's report, they only found 5 listings, which is a massive improvement. And then their privacy experts took it from there to make sure that those listings were removed as well. The cool thing about Delete Me is they are always continually scanning the web to make sure that our data doesn't pop up again.
It's pretty much impossible to keep your private data off the internet nowadays because there are data brokers out there that use government sites, public information sites, and even your own social media to steal your information. But Delete Me can help by scouring the web, identifying those listings, and having them removed on your behalf.
So we signed up for the family plan because that allows us to protect every member of the family under one convenient plan, which is particularly important if you happen to have elderly family members because they are so often the biggest target of these scammers.
To give Delete Me a try and take the first steps toward protecting your personal information online, just click the link below or go to joindeleteme.com/GSL and use our code GSL to get 20% off all consumer plans.
Well, some people get mad because like you'll wear a workout top or something like that.
Yeah,
If you were wearing it
I show my
at
shoulders
the
sometimes.
beach or the gym, like no one would even think anything of it because she's in her apartment. They're like, why is...
People are entitled to their own opinions.
Yeah.
But like I said,
Everyone's
as her
got a
father,
different-
I'm not concerned. Take that back with one exception, the damn Birkenstocks.
There
I
is
love
nothing
my
wrong with
Birkenstocks.
those.
Oh, hitting out.
They're
They're teaming
so
up on me now. They're
comfortable.
ganging up on me. See, this is a debate
Because
in
you
our
haven't
household.
squished your foot into one of those little hippie shoes, and so you don't know.
I refuse.
Once you,
I got criticism on the Birkenstocks too.
Yeah,
We'll get to that.
that's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, there were plenty of comments like this one that says, in public, always women need to cover up completely and protect their assets. Mom and dad, this is your responsibility too. Why would you let your daughter bully you into letting her participate in this trashy fashion trend?
bully.
Yes, I said trashy because your daughter should not be dressing like a loose woman or worse.
Wow.
Why did her dad not insist she dresses more modestly and cover up more? Going out in public should not be considered the same as a fashion show. Shame on dad and mom for letting her go anywhere alone dressed in that super short, skanky outfit. Take your fashion pride and trash that, not your daughter.
Shame on us, Melissa. Shame on us. You know what?
Yeah.
Next time, 2 denim coats.
Well, I think the criticism came from the dress. So you're wearing a black dress. It goes just like a couple inches above your knee.
Yeah. The kneecaps.
But I mean,
My knock knees are very seductive.
You're a little knock-knee.
I'm
but
very
you were
knock-kneed.
You were born that way, in the words of
That's how
Lady
God
Gaga.
made me.
It's fine as long as
My
I keep
knees
my
rub
feet
together
apart.
when I'm
What was a Birkenstock comment? You have that up?
Oh, there's a couple.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I got some things saying. I always tell my daughters and myself, like, always cover up your hair completely. Tuck it all in a hat.
Do they want you like veiling?
I don't know. They said tuck it in a hat. Cover up your hair. Always wear sunglasses. Like I'm hiding from paparazzi.
Like she's Mariah Carey or something.
They said if you make eye contact with a man, that's an invitation.
What?
Yep. Always wear.
Was that from a man?
It was a woman.
What?
Yeah, it was a woman. Both of the ones about shoes were women. They were mad I wore.
This is cultural. Like
Oh, for
you
sure.
must keep your eyes
Yeah.
diverted
Yeah, it's
down.
definitely
You must
part of
cover your hair.
Well,
like
the Birkenstocks, they were like, there's a lot of feet freaks out there. Never show your toenails. I was like, what? Never show. It was toenails specifically.
there were quite a few comments saying
like the
it's because
dogs.
you showed your
Oh, wait, hold on.
The
Let's say,
dogs.
what in the foot fetish?
What in the foot fetish?
Channy, you know what's up.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. I got a lot of like, she says she's trying to be extra safe. It's her first time traveling solo, and she chose the shortest skirt ever and did her makeup and hair like she's going out for the night. And this was probably the most bizarre comment I think I got in the whole video.
Do they think your naturally curly hair is like you went and had it like curled?
I had this perm before I came here.
I got my hair perm.
This comment was really bizarre to me. Just dress up, girl, and men will recognize your godliness. Dress up, don't show skin, and you'll walk free. For God protects those who follow him. Curious about God's command in this? You shall not commit adultery. That's all. If you know anything from the Bible, you may know that if we look at another to have business with them, you've already committed adultery. So that means that we can make others stumble through our dressing. If we dress less or we make others want us or try to make ourselves look very done up, we commit adultery in the process. If we keep ourselves, then even if someone goes after us sexually, then it is only his fault. You shall not commit adultery is God's answer on how to dress. If you follow God, nothing will harm you. If you don't be surprised if you attract bad circumstances, but it's all because of yourself. The way you dressed went against God. You shall not commit adultery. I have said it, it is true, and God said it before me. So basically, the way I was dressed made me an adulterer because I caused that man to stumble, which basically was just like,
That also
it's
sounds
adultery.
to be of a certain religion that is not ours. Because there are women under many culture, like many different countries under one religion where they are blamed if a man attacks them because culturally, religiously, and what their doctrine says is if a man stumbles and sins
You caused
by
him
attacking
to do
a
it.
woman, you cause them by showing your hair, by making eye contact, by some kind of an invitation. Therefore, honor killing.
So a male's lack of self-restraint is now your fault.
It is.
I'm an adulterer.
It is the woman's fault because, a woman fell first or caused man to fall, and therefore, like, women are of this fallen nature, and they are temptresses. They tempt men, and if a man falls in that way, it is the woman that caused it. Like, it is bananas, and it is not okay. And it's a family with sons in it. I teach our boys to have self-control no matter what. I don't care if you're walking somewhere and a girl in a thong bikini walks by. You can choose to divert your eyes. You can choose to not act like a dog or a pig. It doesn't matter what they're dressed like. That's their business. The way you behave is your business. Be respectful
100%.
for yourself.
Yeah.
Have self-respect.
We have a number of those discussions. Yeah.
And I'm sorry. The outfit in question is something a third grader would wear to school.
Again, zero problem with it.
Like, it's just crazy that she was blamed for
There's
it.
a lot of worse things I could wear. It's just
Far
not one of them.
Birkenstocks are, like you stated, they are
Horrible.
a comfy
Awful.
foot
Ugly.
choice, but they are
Poor fashion
not
sense.
sexy. They are not sexy. They say that I don't like men. That's what a Birkenstock says. So,
Or are those toenails an invite, Melissa?
I don't think so.
I didn't even have them painted or anything. They were just
Nasty.
She just had hippie feet.
Dogs,
Foot fungus
the
and all.
dogs.
No,
Oh, Jesus.
she had bare toenails, naked toenails.
The dogs.
It's like they're
the
not
dogs.
painted. They're naked toenails. They're painted. They're Lady of the Night toenails. Red, scarlet letter toenails.
So you and I as parents also received some criticism with this whole thing because
yeah.
we allowed our 18-year-old to venture out into the mean and scary world
Yeah.
on her own.
We can't win with you. We're either sheltering you and we're keeping you locked away in the tower like Rapunzel.
I got a lot of those too. They're like, your parents did you a huge disservice because you were so coddled and sheltered that now when you go out somewhere, you don't know how to handle yourself.
100% false. Would you consider yourself coddled? Actually, take it back. I mean,
Well, we keep our kids in somewhat of a protective bubble.
I was going to say, but you know what?
That's just good parenting.
Our kids get a lot more exposure. We have a lot more discussions than your average American family about so many issues that I think just gets glossed over by the overwhelming majority of folks here in our country. And
Our kids know way too much.
yeah, we've had a number of very frank discussions over the years. I think a lot of people, there's just a stigma attached to being a homeschooling family, a homeschooled child.
I think people think I'm way more naive than I am.
Yeah. And I think
Right,
part of
yeah.
that is your videos and the fact that your portrayal of yourself.
Yeah. Well, I
is
have
what
a
it
very
is.
bubbly
Yeah,
personality, but it
it's-
doesn't mean I'm not.
It's very fun. It doesn't mean you're
Just
you-
clueless.
Doesn't mean there's nothing in there.
it doesn't mean you have a total lack of assertiveness.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's maybe like I said, it's a learning opportunity, but you still are a sharp girl for sure. You have that discernment in you, and you're able to very quickly determine and distinguish between right and wrong, and when somebody's maybe up to no good.
Yeah.
So not as naive as so many of you out there seem to think.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, also, I think as far as being caught off guard, that it wouldn't have mattered if you attended public school your whole life. Like, that's still alarming
it was
when
my
you're
first
on
time
Yeah.
traveling alone.
Yep.
I literally just landed.
I went to public school. I would have been totally caught off guard if that had happened to me on my first flight when I was 18 and I went off to college. I would have.
Yeah. And you know, we're not going to be those parents who, like, of course, I would love, we always talk about our kids staying here on the property, but we always want to afford our kids the opportunity to go out and venture out into the world to learn and discover and meet new people and have new experiences. We encourage that. I said on the last episode, like, I was excited for you to go. I encourage you to go. I didn't want to like give you this dire talking to ahead of time of like, hey, be fearful. I didn't want to be the crude's dad, you know, for once.
Never not be afraid.
Yeah, like I always encourage you. You want to go down to Spokane and like go shopping? I'm like, what did I tell you?
Go.
Yeah,
Careful.
I'm like, go. Be careful. Like, go. Why are you so like? Oh, it's 2.5 hours away and it's a long drive. I'm like, don't go. Try it. Do it. You can do it. You've done it. Like, tackle new experiences. Don't approach everything in life from like, with a fearful perspective.
Yeah.
You know, view it as an opportunity. And so with that, I was excited for you to go. I said this last time, but we're not those parents. We are overbearing in a sense sometimes with certain things. But once our children reach an adult age, it's fair game. I'm not ever going to tell any of you to not do something you want to do because of proximity or risk or anything like that. So there.
Yeah. So there. Well, and then the other thing, which I thought was kind of funny, and it fell more on you being a police officer, is they were like, why haven't you taught her self-defense? Why doesn't she know karate? Why doesn't she know jiu-jitsu? Why doesn't she have a concealed carry?
Lots of where was the gun? I just flew in.
Yeah, so you can check a pew pew in your bag.
Say the word.
A pew pew.
Don't say the word.
It's fine. Not super reasonable. She's an 18-year-old girl, and ideally, like you've constantly got some an implement of protection on your person at all time. But it's not always reasonable when traveling. I mean, when I travel, I don't check a pew pew for myself. There's so many hypotheticals.
Luggage, you can't do that. Like, so many people are like, why didn't she have this in the terminal with her?
She was sitting in the baggage claim. It's not like she's all of a sudden gonna pull out.
That wouldn't be a good idea.
That's a good way to get dropped by security in an airport. You can't do that.
Brandishing the glizzy in the baggage claim at the airport.
That's a hot dog.
I mean?
We've been
Whatever.
over
I still like using it. I use it when I can.
Getting the terminology wrong.
She looks disgusted with me.
A pew pew glizzy.
Because you said brandishing a glizzy.
Oh, that's true. Didn't even think about it. Phrasing. No. So and Nevaeh has had some exposure to it. I'm not going to say like we're out here training every week, but in this, I mean, we have videos of you with our big scary
the big pew pew
here in our property. I mean, you were 13 years old, manipulating that thing. I've taught you how to do like basic drills with the pew pews. So yeah. From a physical standpoint, you want to talk about the jiu-jitsu because we were talking about that, like going hands on with somebody.
So I thought this was kind of goofy because people were like, why doesn't she know karate? Like, they've been watching
There are a lot of karate ones. I'm gonna pull this
Cobra
next
Kai.
time a guy comes up to me.
The crane.
The crane.
Yeah.
So yes, I don't think there's anything wrong with a female taking self-defense. It's a good thing.
I think it's a
Take
great thing.
self-defense.
Great option.
No jiu-jitsu, no karate, if you will. But you're probably better off knowing jiu-jitsu and some actual tactical, like, spin out of someone grabbing you kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to be like, so like the crane and stuff, like a lot of for show, I guess, like they put on like demonstrations. It doesn't seem practical in an airport. So yeah, probably jiu-jitsu, self-defense, things like that are good. However, let's be real. When you are 5'0" and you weigh 100 and nothing, if you are a black belt in jiu-jitsu, you might.
It's hard to say.
I know jiu-jitsu. And no, I'm not drinking. I stopped that a few months ago.
As most of you know, we've been building our home here in North Idaho from the ground up while homeschooling our 4 kids. So of course, keeping our home and our family safe is of the utmost importance to us. That's why we've recently partnered with Home Title Lock to help protect both from the fast-growing scam the FBI calls house stealing.
Yeah, we were recently given a demonstration on just how easy the scam is to pull off. And let me tell you, it was shocking. This is called a quitclaim deed, and it is all filled out showing that we sold our house to a fake person that doesn't actually exist. It includes our name, our property information, even a fake version of our signature and a notary stamp.
Yeah, and as long as this document is filled out properly and a small fee is paid to the county, they legally have to accept it. Then suddenly the house is belonging to somebody else. It's even in their name. But here's the thing, scammers don't really want your house. They're actually going after your home equity.
Now, because your title is in their name, they can take out loans using your home as collateral and then disappear, leaving you or your loved ones with a legal and financial nightmare to deal with.
So you can actually protect yourself from this despicable crime right now with triple lock protection. That's monitoring, alerts, and restoration services from Home Title Lock.
The first step is to check on your home's title to make sure that you aren't already a victim by using the link in our description or by going to hometitlelock.com/NWOS and use our promo code NWOS so you will receive 30 days of protection for free to go along with a complete title history report. That's promo code NWOS at hometitlelock.com/NWOS.
You can maybe stop one man,
Not multiple.
to get away if you're like a fast runner or something, right? But men are stronger. They just are. The Olympics proved that with boxing. They're just stronger.
Don't go there.
I will go there.
Yeah, no, it's true. Especially in this circumstance. If
There were
even
4 men there.
even if it was one guy, that one guy that approached you think you could have overpowered him in any way physically?
No, I mean, he
No,
was
of course
short,
not.
but
Of course not. Even though he was maybe a smaller statured guy and
Yeah.
older, there's no way that you
I am 5'2", 110 pounds with no muscle. I have
Yeah.
no
Hey,
manpower.
swift kick or punch to the nads when in doubt. But aside from that, like, yeah, it's not realistic for most women.
No,
there are exceptions, but for most women, it's not going to apply.
And the thing is, with a lot of these women that are being attacked in Dallas or other places, like the girl that was taken from her home, 4 men took that girl from her home. In this situation, he was with 3 to 4 other men.
Mhm.
I don't care if you're Ronda Rousey. You're not getting away from 4 men. You're not as a female. If they decided, if they had opportunity and they could grab her, it doesn't matter if she is the best female MMA fighter out there. She's not going to get away from 4 males.
I mean, she's going to stand a better chance. But yeah, to your point, I mean,
It's just, let's be practical. Like, we have to be
and
practical.
you're also assuming that there isn't any kind of weaponry involved.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Like, yeah, it's so I don't know. I
There's only one true way for women to like really, like, you have to have some kind of weaponry.
equalizer, yeah,
Like,
the
yeah,
pew-pews,
equalizer
man,
is the word I was
the,
looking
it's
for.
the only thing that's going to do it
That,
for you.
or, you know, like stun guns, or even mace or
Something.
something like that.
Sure.
But if you're going to go hands-on, like, we just have to be practical in the situation. And I feel like, yes, female self-defense classes are very important and you should take them because there are tools and things to be aware of and stuff that you could use to maybe run. But don't let it be a false sense of security. Don't be like, I'm a badass.
Yeah.
Because realistically, there's just physical things to consider.
Yeah, I couldn't get away from 4 guys.
Right.
Like, I mean,
Yes.
that's me.
So to be like, oh, I took self-defense at my church on Wednesday nights and now I don't have to worry.
good to know, not necessarily going to make a difference in this case.
Yeah.
No.
So,
Yes, I think, it's good to know, but don't let it be a false sense of security.
Yeah.
what were some of the other criticisms that people came up with?
Yeah, you got, man, she's
got
had
it.
some wild comments.
This one, I don't know if they were trying to say I was being racist towards the guy or something. I thought he was threatening because of his ethnicity. I don't know, but they said it's really typical of filth like you who dress inappropriately, then complain about South American men from, I'm not gonna say the word, whole countries hitting on you. Yeah, blame the South American and African men who are eating the cats and dogs.
Oh, okay, we're going there.
Yeah.
Automatically
And
disqualify
then
yourself
they
from
went
having a
off
rational
saying
discussion.
that I was a filthy domestic terrorist. This one's about toes. Yeah, that's interesting.
Oh, what?
Toes.
Oh,
Yeah.
another toe comment.
Because of the feet freaks, they said.
It's those dang Birkenstocks.
If
Those
you don't
Birkenstocks will
if
get
you don't
every
want
time.
that type of attention, dress more modestly. I guarantee most of the men you pass made note of those legs. I think young women are I think young women are really stupid traveling alone in sexy clothing, drawing attention to themselves on purpose, then complaining. They this was a woman saying, feminists are always harping on about not blaming the victim because of what she's wearing, but take this advice from a 60-plus-year-old grandma who headed an anti-human trafficking unit in the early 2000s. Do not wear the short skirt again while alone. Slacks and sweats only. No yoga pants either. These clothing items only draw attention to yourself. This person said they'd be more worried about cops and churchgoers than.
Okay. Yeah, that's just-
Okay, yeah, the comments got off the rails.
They were
okay,
just.
but for that one lady, that one comment, I do think there is some value to come along with
Right.
that. Yeah, like if you're dressing in a very sexually explicit manner, then you are going to attract attention, especially from people or men who are predatory.
It doesn't make any attack your fault.
Yes.
Yeah.
However,
But
you are free to dress however you want in our
Yeah.
society within reason. I mean, short of like exposing
Yeah.
yourself.
You
And
can in Portland and Seattle.
yeah, where we come from, you
But
can.
you can't be surprised then if you get attention you don't
Right.
want.
Sure, you're going to attract unwanted attention, or maybe wanted attention. Either way, it shouldn't fall upon the female or any male or female. It should be able to dictate the way that you decide to present yourself. I feel like sure,
Yeah.
do you open yourself up to more dangerous situations and vulnerabilities? 100%.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
but again, we need to stop focusing on the people who are being victimized in so many of these cases and shine the light and focus on the perpetrators, the ones who are evildoers, the ones who are the ones victimizing these people.
Yeah, like I don't care if you are someone who's a working lady on the side of the road
Yeah.
wearing close to nothing. That woman still does not deserve
No.
to be mistreated or abused or and a lot of them are found killed, and that it's not like, oh well, she was just a hooker, so she had no value, and anyone can do whatever they please to her.
Yeah, no.
No, you can't. And as someone who raises daughters and sons, like the men are responsible for their behavior. A woman can't change your behavior if you have self-control. So we need to teach our sons self-control. Don't teach your sons that if a woman is out there being thirsty, that's okay.
It's not just men though. We're all responsible for our own autonomy, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and women should be modest. Don't try to attract that. If you dress in a sexual manner, yes, you are going to attract sexual attraction.
It's just
Yeah.
men become the focus of this because we are the ones who are like we're just saying, right? A female cannot overcome oftentimes the aggression of a male, but you do have other circumstances where people become very dismissive of females when they are acting in a very predatory nature as well. People will laugh it off like, "Aha, it's funny," when the 40-year-old woman is patting the butt of the 17-year-old boy. Like, no, not cool.
Yeah, we're seeing that with a lot of this Diddy stuff with
the
Biebs.
Poor
Poor
Justin
Biebs,
Bieber.
I mean, it was award shows where you have
On stage.
yeah,
And
where
everyone's
you
laughing.
have Katy Perry grabbing him and he clearly looks uncomfortable multiple times and
Yeah.
kissing him.
That's
And
what I'm saying. So it's not okay for anybody, but
No.
No.
of course, the way that normally goes, the male is the aggressor. So
yeah, but yeah, not always, and it is more explained away when it is female.
Yep.
But something like we're really noticing with your generation is this whole, and it did start with the whole Me Too thing, is like the men versus women, and then the bear thing. Like, would you rather approach a bear or a man
So
in the woods?
dumb.
And it created this huge divide between men
that
and
one was
women.
bad.
And the men got so offended and so aggressive at the fact that women were saying, I'd rather pick a bear because, and then the men were like, I hope that you get ripped apart. And it's like, that's why she chose the bear. Like, you can't make some psycho comment like
Well,
it's
that.
just a dumb discussion.
After the whole bear versus man in the woods thing, a woman got mauled to death by a bear.
In Montana, right?
Yeah.
No, it was one of the.
I thought it was right here in Montana.
No,
that was
it was
last
like
year.
more east.
Okay.
Yeah, but she got mauled to death, and it was
I
only like
bear.
Yeah.
the second time that it happened in that state or something. It was it never happened really, and all of the comments were from
course.
men just
Horrible.
mocking it, like, "Bet she wish she chose the man," and I
Of
wouldn't
course.
have done that to her, and blah blah blah, and like making fun
Yeah.
of it and saying she
Ha ha, that's
brought this
that's what you
upon
get.
herself,
Yep.
and
I
It
was
was-
reading those comments too, and they were like, "Oh, well, like she got what she deserved, chose the bear. She didn't choose anything. She was just on a hike, and she's an innocent person."
yeah,
Internet and
Oh,
internet
God.
anonymity.
But the problem is like with that kind of gang mentality, as far as like there's so many of them, and it validates the way that they think, and they feed off each other.
Yeah, it's
That
poison.
does get carried on into real life, and it does poison your brain.
yeah.
Why? And so then they're like, "Oh, you don't want us to be toxic men, therefore." And then they proceed to be toxic men, and it's like,
I feel like women went very far in
Yes.
the
Women took it too
yeah,
far.
they took it too far and they were like, all of you are bad. You do bad things. All of you are predators. And then men felt very offended and they're like, fine, why do we even try?
More young
Fine.
men than older men. I think older men are a little bit more just mature and whatever.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, when you have daughters and granddaughters, that'll change things.
Yeah.
but then like some of the younger guys, you know, they're listening to all these kind of like real manly podcasts and stuff like that. Be men.
Yeah.
Like,
The manosphere.
yes,
They're
the
not actually-
manosphere.
Yeah.
They're not actually preaching masculinity, though. It's just,
Yeah.
It's douchebaggery.
yeah.
Yes. And there's a big difference. Like when men say they want masculine men, they want providers, protectors, guys that are going to go out there and bring home an elk, you know, like that's sexy. You brought me home a big fish and you
Sorry.
gutted it and I
Brought
don't
me
have
home
to.
a big fish.
Yeah, no, that's sexy. It is. Or
What's that smell?
I'm
Ooh.
at a
Fish.
party and a guy's acting stupid and I know that I don't have to do anything because my husband or my boyfriend's going to stand up and punch him in the nose.
That's right.
Like
I've been there, done it.
that's what he did.
What else? You have something else there on your phone?
Oh, yeah. I was on the topic of how men were just getting offended by this kind of stuff, too, because women were going so far in the man-hating direction. A lot of women, they were just going too far with the claims of just like, you
Right.
made me uncomfortable.
Yes.
You're a predator.
Mhm.
Like, there was a lot of that when men didn't do anything wrong. And so now I feel like that feeds into the just being very dismissive
Mhm.
of women anytime they say something happens. And so I got a lot of comments like this one, too, from a guy. He said, delusional female,
Delulu.
Delulu.
Sorry, I had
Using her imagination just to get attention. One question, he was creepy just because he wasn't a Chad, which is slang for an attractive guy.
Mhm.
This is
Otherwise,
clearly a young guy.
yeah. Otherwise, it would be completely different. Well, 90% of men are no Chads, and you'll say they're creepy. It's a scary world. If I was you, I would never go out. Maybe some creep. God forbidden ask you something. There's a lot of typos. Jeez. God forbidden ask you something. Then we will hear another imagination here. Any check out with psychologists.
Okay.
Change your drugs.
Yeah.
He was going off saying basically, and the rest of this weird typo-filled rant that guys are single now because if they go up to a woman and approach them, they're going to be called a creep. And that's what happened in this situation. They're like, that guy was no creep. You're mean.
As we've just gone over, that is not the case. Let's start winding this down because
Okay.
we're over an hour already. So just to recap here, criminal investigation was completed again. Very appreciative to American Airlines Security, Department of Homeland Security, and ICE. So appreciate their efforts. Fortunately, everything worked out very favorably on our end for Nevaeh. This gentleman is now been identified and placed on a list, which of course we were happy about. It's pretty much the furthest extent to which we could take things on our end and from a law enforcement standpoint as well. So yeah, aside from that, all the criticisms and everything, like people are going to be,
It's the internet. So
it's the internet. We don't.
you just
take it
have
for
to
what it
know
is.
Yeah.
that it is the internet. People do behave very badly from behind their keyboards. But the information, like it's good that you shared it because there are so many young girls that heard your story and felt really encouraged and felt emboldened and felt educated
Yes.
by this.
That's all it was for because I wasn't expecting that to happen. I'm like, oh, that would never happen.
Right.
So then I was very caught off guard. So
Even though we also got some comments that the whole thing was staged.
stage?
Like we hired
Really?
an actor. Yeah. I
What?
think that was one of the
Oh,
comments that
I-
I
Oh,
got
that's-
rid of.
a little extreme.
So,
Oh, like her footage and everything?
yeah.
Do you think we hired
Oh,
that
I
guy?
got one of
Yeah.
those too, actually.
Yeah.
Like you paid someone to be
Right.
in that video.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't
You
got the
would've
energy for that.
So yeah, watch out for yourselves and each other.
And each other.
Put the damn phones away. Look out
Yeah.
for one another, man. Come on.
Put the phones away and act like human beings.
Yeah.
If you see something, do something and risk being wrong.
Mhm.
It's okay to be like, I'm so sorry. I thought you were in trouble. People, you know what the response for that's going to be? Thank you. If you approach somebody with like a child and you're suspicious and you're like, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to make sure she was okay.
Yeah.
You might get a parent that gets mad.
Sure.
But I think a lot of parents would be like, thank you.
Worth the risk.
Thanks for looking out for my child.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Anything else to squeeze in from two of you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm just
We're just here.
Maybe you should just stay out of your comment section.
yeah. There's
Yeah,
some
that wasn't the
bizarre
issue.
ones.
We just wanted to, again, it's not, we're not
I
going to
don't-
harp too hard here on the
comment
comments.
comment
but
sections, they don't bother me. It is the
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah.
we've become very used
Yeah.
to it at this point.
It's just an example of some of the divide right now
Yeah.
between men and women. A lot of guy just trying to be nice and the girl's a jerk like
Yeah.
usual.
Yeah, we need to heal this whole men versus women divide because things work so much better and when men and women work together. We have different skills, we have different personalities, and we each need each other, and we need to stop all this division and blaming and everything and get back to building nuclear families. Let's do it.
Amen, sister.
Amen.
All right, love and appreciate you guys. God bless. We will see you here next week on World Also Good Simple Living video. We'll be on a Saturday. Nevaeh, you got a video upcoming? Multiple
Yeah.
videos upcoming?
I do. I have a video coming out right at the end of this month.
There
so
you go. Stay
Is
tuned
it going to
for
be
that.
on Halloween?
I'm trying to get it out the day before Halloween, but it may be on Halloween.
So very soon.
Yes.
Okay, very cool. Love and appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week.
Oh, it is living in the new world with an whole soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows.